I were raising a young family in Parker, this would be at the top of my list. Here's why. Hey everyone, it is Alyson, your real estate strategist and realtor for the South Denver area. Most buyers do not know this Parker neighborhood exists, but they should. Let me show you one of the very best kept secrets on the east side of Parker. What is this hidden gem that I am talking about? It is Idyllwilde and Canterberry. These two neighborhoods are on the east side of Parker Road, and while they're technically two separate communities, the lines blur and they really feel like one big happy neighborhood. The trails intersect between the two. The three schools in the neighborhoods make it feel like you are in one big happy neighborhood. The elementary, middle, and high school that exists in here kind of bring the community together in one, and really everything flows so tightly and neatly together that until you live here, you often don't know when you've left one neighborhood and entered the other. Having all three schools in the community really does bring a woven togetherness in the community as well, because when you have kids from each neighborhood going to school together, all of a sudden you're friends no matter where your address is in the neighborhood. It means you're swapping pools, you're hanging out, you're going to each other's events, you're walking the trails or biking the trails to get to each other's houses. So it really pulls together and shrinks down the size of the community. There is a coffee house inside the neighborhood we'll talk about. And so that's on one end. People from the other end are driving in. So while it is technically two neighborhoods, two sets of amenities, two HOAs, it just shrinks down and feels like one large community. Now, I mentioned it's on the east side of Parker Road specifically. That comes with some pluses. It comes with some minuses. Being on the east side of Parker means it's definitely a longer commute to get over to I-25. If you are someone who needs to commute into the tech center or regularly commutes to downtown or farther, maybe Lakewood, maybe a couple times a week you head to Boulder for your office, your tech job, that is a much longer commute than someone who is living more centrally. Highlands Ranch, West Littleton. That tech center and downtown commute is certainly longer from here than if you're on the west side of Parker Road. Now, the perks, if you go to the airport, it can certainly be shorter from over here. This is not a bad neighborhood at all for those who commute into Buckley, if you work at the Children's Hospital, the VA hospital, a little farther out than someone who's in Aurora, but you are certainly a lot closer than someone who is on the west side of town. Now, when I say East Parker, for some people it conjures up this idea of Parker horse properties. If you have any familiarity, whether you've been researching, you're from here, you live nearby, you used to be a Coloradan, a lot of people have the loving memory and understanding of the fact that Parker has a ton of horse property, a ton of acreage properties, and most of that is to our east. This is not that far east. We are talking just a few minutes off of Parker Road, and you are so close to everything you need. This is what makes it, in one of the ways, feel like a mini Highlands ranch. You can go out the north end of the neighborhood and you are in the downtown core. You've got the library, you have all of the things that are growing up in Parker's downtown core, because we're adding so much mixed use space, new retail, a really new vibrant area is coming. But that downtown core is where we have our farmers market every week. It is an award-winning farmers market. You come out the south end of the neighborhood and you are 5 minutes away at most from your retail, your grocery stores, your shops, your errand running, your Walmart, your Target. You've got a Home Depot there. In addition, Parker is home to a Whole Foods that is about to open. The building has the sign, the parking lot, everything. It is the final touches coming. The Trader Joe's, the Costco, we have a hospital, we have a Lowe's, the Home Depot, all the other stores I've shared about, as well as some of those locally owned mom and pop shops dotted around close to Main Street, on Main Street, which is something that's a little bit more unique than Highlands Ranch. Much fewer privately owned mom and pop local businesses in Highlands Ranch compared to what we have here in Parker. Now, also, lest you think east in Colorado and no views, let me dispel that myth. So yes, if you go too far east, it feels like the plains. You can't see our mountains. You kind of go, wait a minute, I thought all of Colorado had Rocky Mountain views. I do not understand where I'm at. That does happen in our eastern third of the state. But that is not true in East Parker. Actually, this neighborhood offers amazing mountain views. Sits up a little bit higher, there's winding trails, there's a nice amount of open space over here. This community has a golf course. It is a membership golf course, but it's also a pay-to-play golf course. So lots of open space along the course itself. And then the Idyllwilde section of the neighborhood, which is a little newer, did a lot of open space. So a lot of rolling terrain, a little bit of gully and gulch, which opens up those views onto the mountains. So because you're a little bit higher than you are in Highlands Ranch, you're set up just enough so that you really aren't blocked by a lot of rooftops when you have one of these view corridor homes. And it is just sweeping and stunning views over here. So if I've wet your whistle for the neighborhood, what is it like to actually live inside this community? We are going to break them down separately, but there are loads of amenities in here. First up, the pools. Each neighborhood has a pool. So up on the north end in Canterberry, which is officially Canterberry Crossing if you're starting to try to look up neighborhoods and take notes. But Canterberry Crossing has a pool, Idyllwilde has a pool. They feel very different. So I had a family who just bought in this neighborhood. I've had quite a few, but one who just bought. They have younger kids, and they specifically chose Idyllwilde because after touring and looking at amenities and driving around inside the community, they realized they like the pool at Idyllwilde much better. It's much more resort style. It has a slide. They have a clubhouse. It has fitness center. So if they aren't putting all of the workout stuff in the basement, they have a place they can go without going too far. It gives the kids a little more space to roam, use that basement for games, for, the basketball shoot-off game, a little ping pong table, all of that stuff. Where when you go up to the Canterberry end, it really is just more one open pool with some decking. Very traditional style that most of us are used to in a neighborhood and community. Again, because all of the kids are generally going to school together, you often have access to both by being a guest with your friends and swapping and enjoying time at each pool. Now, you have to be a guest. You don't get to just stroll in, but the nature of community and friendships makes it so that you should feel like you could anticipate having access to both opportunities as you build network in here. The fitness center I mentioned over in Idyllwilde is in the basement of what they call the Grand Hall. This is their clubhouse. This is also often the starting point or the hub for many of the activities in the neighborhood. Holiday parties, summer get-togethers, all sorts of events meant to bring new people in the loop, keep the regulars together, keep new relationships flourishing and connections growing. As I mentioned, there is a golf course in the community. All of Black Bear Golf Course sits in the Canterberry end of the neighborhood. So if you're wanting some open space, you really want something that gives you view corridors that are very long, but your budget is under 1.5, 1.8, 1.9 million, then I would lean over toward the golf course side. Because when we get over to the mountain side, for the most part, you're going to be on the Idyllwilde end of things. These are going to be Toll Brothers homes, higher end homes, and that price tag is going to go up. Now, if you have that budget, that's where I'm going to tell you to go. But the golf course gives a lot of options for modest priced homes with really lovely open corridors. And as you look east, because of the area we are, there's a lot of forest and pine and terrain out that way. It is not flat and boring. It's quite beautiful. Canterberry is also home to the tennis courts, Buffalo Berry Park. So if you're one who likes to play tennis, that is part of that HOA. Again, make friends, be a guest, use the facilities and amenities. And two of my absolute hands down favorite things about this neighborhood, the trails, the views, the open space, the colors, the way the Gamble Oak changes in the fall, and you just have the scenery and the feel of the seasons all throughout, the nature. I'm just telling you, the views are absolutely stunning. But then you have the coffee house on site. So one of the residents in Idyllwilde owns Fika Coffee House on Main Street. Because they live in Canterberry, Idyllwilde area, they opened up one right across from the high school. It is perfect for the kids who get a little break and want to come across, grab one in the morning. The whole community has access to go and get coffee, a snack, a pastry, sit out on the open space that is kind of adjacent to the coffee shop. It is such a premium perk. There are so many beautiful neighborhoods where there's no coffee shop nearby, or they want something while they go on a walk with their friend or after the tennis, and you have to leave the community Not here. Okay, if all of this is sounding wonderful, let's dive into the data on each neighborhood so you kind of have a feel for size, age, home prices, growth, all of that good information. For the whole neighborhood, stem to stern, both communities together, we're looking at home prices that start in the low 500s and currently are running up to just below $2 million. That near $2 million price point, I kind of hinted to this a few minutes ago, that's in Idyllwilde. It's the Toll Brothers homes. They're on open space. They have backyards that face west. You're getting mountain views. You have beautiful, long, wide green belts and open space behind you where they're really not seeing any neighbors. And you have white peaks. So you have these large luxury homes, often over 6,000 square feet, 3-4 garage bays. New homes that are only a couple years old. I just sold one for a client and that house was 2.5 years old. So you really are on the newer end of things, high-end, deluxe finishes, mountain views. So you're paying a premium for those properties. Now, over the past year, the range in Idyllwilde is a little higher. We're starting in the 600s and then capping out just shy of $2 million currently. The average price in Idyllwilde is $964,000. This is a 40% increase from 5 years ago when the average price was $644,000. For the past year, the average days on market has been running about 30 days, so it's kind of on par with the whole market. The median age of home is running around 2011, 2012. The homes are pretty large in here. The average total size is about 4,400 square feet, with lot sizes that are running just shy of 0.2 acres. We're running typically around 0.19, so pretty good size lots, even for having newer homes. If you've watched my videos before, I tell you the newer the home gets, generally the smaller the lot. Over here, these are pretty nice size at almost 0.2. The predominant proportion of homes are gonna have 3-car garages, sometimes more, a few are gonna be only 2, but you really are getting a lot of space for storage, toys, the golf cart, the bikes, all the things. And the HOA fee is right now only running about $1,700 a year. Over on the Canterberry side, prices are ranging this past year from a low $500,000 range to about $1,150,000. The average price is $715,000. That represents a 34% growth over the last 5 years. Now, these homes have a median age of 2000, which means they're more than a decade older on the median than the homes in Idyllwilde. So that means we have more maintenance that needs to be done. They have a different aesthetic, a different look, different styles, right? And with that, meaning it's going to need a little more TLC oftentimes, different flow, different light. The newer homes typically sell faster, sell for more money. We just see this. People like new and newer. So the average days on market in here is running 46 days on market over the last year compared to Idyllwilde, which I told you was running 30. The average home size is a little smaller in here, 3,500 total square feet. With a smaller home means you could have a little bit smaller lot. It doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna feel smaller though. We're looking at a median of 0.16. It's 0.19 in Idyllwilde. When you have a little bit smaller footprint, you're still gonna feel like you've got a lot of yard around you. So the similarity in terms of space, breathing room from neighbors, both communities have a lot of open space. You've got the open space in Idyllwilde looking toward the mountains and green belts in between. We've got the golf course and green belts in Canterberry. So very nice in terms of privacy options. With the slightly smaller home size, we have fewer homes that lean toward that 3-car garage size. It's about 50-50 in Canterberry, still really good. I have neighborhoods where it's like 5 homes have a 3-car garage. So overall here, you have a lot of choice in terms of space and storage and size and style and privacy. Lovely area. This is why I love this neighborhood so much. The HOA dues in Canterberry are less. We have fewer amenities. We don't have insurance for a fitness facility. We have much less space in the clubhouse. We have no slide. We have a different kind of pool. So right now we're looking at $1,200 a year for Canterberry on the HOA dues. You can see with the 5-year growth rate, both the neighborhoods and the community on a whole have performed very well. But even with that great performance, even with the desirability, even with all the perks of this location, there's always drawbacks. So what do we have going on over in the Idyllwilde Canterberry community that maybe you won't like? So I've already brought up commute and location. The farther east you are in Parker, then the longer your commute generally to get places. Just like if you were all the way over on the west side of town, but you had to work in downtown every day of the week, you have a long commute. Now, if you're always going skiing, being on the west side of town may be worth it. Same thing over here. If you commute every day into the tech center or downtown, the fact that you've crossed over onto the east side of Parker Road gives you a longer commute. But if you work from home a lot and then also travel to the airport and you're on the road, you're a road warrior, you may really appreciate the fact that you can go from here to the airport and be in the door within about 30 minutes. Something else to note is the Canterberry neighborhood in particular has power lines in it. They're mostly up on the very north end. They're very close to the pool. And they run right along that north edge, and then they take a slight turn and kind of run along the border, outer border of Idyllwilde down the side to the west edge. So it is possible to see power lines. It is possible to live near them. The Idyllwilde community, you're generally not going to be near power lines. It's possible they may be very far off in the distance. There are parts of Canterberry where you could be under them. We've had some friends, we've gone to their house for dinner, sat out in the backyard, and we go out and all of a sudden we look up and we just see the power lines swooping by. They don't have a tower near them, so it's really hard to notice, especially with these mature trees and landscaping. People have strategically placed stuff where if you're sitting just right, you never see a tower anymore, but they are there. So if you are anti-tower, you're gonna need to choose parts of the neighborhood where you don't have to deal with that. But that's my short list. I gave you 2 cons, and we've got the pros of an amenity-packed neighborhood, all 3 schools in the community. You have great proximity to all of the things you need in town, right? You've got your errands, your groceries, your retail, you've got some food. You can get to the farmer's market, the library. You've got access out the 2 ends of the neighborhood. So either way you go, you're taking the shortcut to get to everything you need. Between the coffee house and the schools, the interweaving of that sense of community, once you're here long enough, it's very easy to build that network here. And the views. Oh my goodness, it's what everyone asks for. If you're coming to Colorado, why wouldn't you hope to have a house with views? And if you can't afford the house with it, at least have them in your neighborhood. So as you're driving in, driving out, driving by, on a walk, on a run, on a bike ride, golfing, whatever it is, they are right in your face. This community delivers. Now, I told you it was a hidden gem, and honestly, I am often introducing clients to this neighborhood. They've never heard of it. They haven't seen a home in here when they're searching online. They have pinpointed certain other areas and have no idea. And I say, hey, can I just take you through this area on the way to XYZ, or before I drop you off at your car, or however our day is going? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then we get in and they are gobsmacked. They love it. They end up getting to their car and spending hours in there later that day, the next day. And I have sold quite a few homes in here thanks to that. So if it's a hidden gem and people don't know about it, what are the communities they're focused on first that are comparable in their mind, that they are thinking is what they want? And then how does this stack up? So Stonegate in Parker is a very popular neighborhood. It is on the west side of Parker Road. It's a little closer to 25. It's established. It has pools. It has parks. It has nice houses. Stonegate's going to end up being more affordable overall. It's actually going to come in at a lower price point, slightly smaller homes. You're going to get good parks, strong Douglas County schools. You will not get the views that you have in Idyllwilde. You won't have the golf course. You will have coffee shops nearby, but nothing in the neighborhood. So very different feel. Highlands Ranch is beloved. It is centrally located, amenity rich, a huge variety of homes. You're kind of split between your shorter commute over to get to the foothills, kind of an easy access into the tech center. No one in South Denver has the easiest access into downtown, so that's 6 one, half dozen the other. Highlands Ranch is loaded with rec centers. You've got 4 rec centers, 4 pools, 4 places to work out, climbing walls, batting cages. So many opportunities to get into free rec centers for an HOA that is below $1,000 a year per home. So Highlands Ranch is incredibly popular, but you're often getting a smaller home for more money on a smaller lot with views definitely available in Highlands Ranch, but you're paying a big premium for them. And then there's the Meadows in Castle Rock, another hands down favorite community. It's a little bit smaller than Highlands Ranch for sure, so we're getting closer to equating in size to Idyllwilde and Canterberry, which is still much smaller than the Meadows. but you have a couple pools, a couple parks, open space, right? We're getting closer in the scope of amenities. You've got retail and shopping right outside the community entrance gates boundaries, right? But the thing with the Meadows is it is farther south. So when Commute comes into play, then you're adding another 20-ish minutes on. So for my folks who have jobs where medical in particular, sometimes Buckley Air Force Base, where your commute times, your timeliness, your distance, your on-call piece matters, that can be too far. Or it's just sanity. You just don't want the commute. You're coming from a place where you're used to commuting an hour and you're trying to cut it down to 30 minutes. Well, you're not generally going to get in normal work hours past the tech center from Castle Rock in 30 minutes. All right, if you want to talk value, space, views, walkable schools, all the options and variables, and figure out what is the right spot for you, please reach out. I would absolutely love to connect. And I will see y'all next week.